This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hi guys, in this video we're going to learn how to create a realistic lion in Blender. Now a little bit of a disclaimer, I am not an expert in lion or lion anatomy or anything like that. Actually I've never really made a lion before, so I'm going to actually use this tutorial to actually help improve my own skills. So since I've never done a lion before, I'm going to be relying on references, and I found one really good reference from ArtStation. You can check out this link from Maria Panfilova. She has given a lot of reference images of the side, front, the back, the top, and so on, which you can go ahead and download. This is part of her product, Lion Anatomy. It includes all these textures and anatomy materials that you can use to create really good looking lions, but I'm not going to really be making use of all those images. I'm only just going to use it just to get the front, side and back, just to get the overall shape and proportion of the lion. Okay, another requirement is you need to make sure that you're using Blender 2.8.1 and above. Blender 2.8 will not really work for this case, so you need to get the latest version of Blender, which is Blender 2.8.1. I also recommend that you use a digital drawing tablet and pen. We're going to be doing quite a bit of sculpting in this tutorial, so it'll be easier for you to follow along if you use a digital drawing and pen. Using a mouse may be a little bit more difficult. This tutorial will also suit a more beginner to intermediate level user of Blender. I mean, I'll try my best to explain it so that a beginner can understand, but due to the relative complexity of this and the amount of content that I'm going to attempt to fit in this tutorial, it may be a little bit challenging for me to condense it in a way that'll be easy for beginners to understand, but I will try my best. Before I start the tutorial, just want to wish you guys a happy new year. It's now 2020, and hey, why not make your 2020 a year where you explore new skills, deepen your existing passions, and get lost in creativity with Skillshare's online classes? In case you didn't know, Skillshare is an online learning community for creative people where millions come together to take that next step in their creative journey. There's so much to explore, and what you find might just surprise and inspire you. There are thousands of classes for creative and curious people on topics including 3D modeling, animation, illustration, design, photography, and so on. Skillshare offers classes designed for real life, so that you can get a step ahead in your creative journey. Most classes are short and tend to be under 60 minutes to fit your busy routine and won't require you to put your life on hold. I'm also a member of the Skillshare community. Not only do I teach, but I join other classes as well. A class that I highly recommend is the Character Animation Basics class by B. Grandinetti. The class teaches you how to design, draw, and animate a dancing character starting from scratch. This is one of the best classes that I've taken on character animation, and you really do get to learn the entire process of designing the character and also ending up with a really nice looking animation. Skillshare is incredibly affordable with an annual subscription at less than $10 a month. It's much more affordable compared to an in-person class or workshop. Since Skillshare is sponsoring this video, I'm able to give you guys 2 months of free membership to all the premium classes available on Skillshare. Click the link in the description to get 2 free months of premium membership and explore your creativity in 2020. Back to the video. So let's get straight into it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load in the reference images of the lion. So what I'm going to do is I want to delete the camera and light. We don't really need to focus on this for this tutorial. And I'm going to just load in the reference. So from the front view, I'm going to go Shift A, or you can go Add, Image, Background. Make sure that you're in front view, by the way. It needs to be front orthographic. Make sure you hit number 1 on your numpad to see that view. Okay, and then I'm just going to go to the lion, and for the front view, I'm just going to load in the front reference image that I downloaded from ArtStation. Something like that. And that's it. Then go to the side view by hitting number 3 on your numpad. And then go Shift A, Image, Background, and we're going to load in the side view. Then we'll go to the top view by hitting 7 on your numpad, Shift A, Image, Background, and then load in the top view. And I think it's facing the wrong direction, so I'll just go R180. To go to the back view, you just go Control Numpad 1. That'll go to the back orthographic, and then you can just go Shift A, Image, Background, and just add in the back. Okay, so once you have those references loaded in, next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the references line up well. But another thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and switch over to the modeling tab. And then I want to just drag out a new window and change this from the outliner window to the image editor. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and open an image. Let's go to the lion. Let's go to the lion, and I'm going to select this image of the lion over here, just so that I can see a reference of the lion's face, since I tend to find the lion's face a little bit of a challenge. I'll also go ahead and do that in the sculpting view as well. So just drag out a new window over here, change it to the image editor, and instead of opening a new image, I'll just click this drop down over here and open this lion's face, so that we always have a reference handy. If you have more reference images, that'll be even better. If you have like a real life picture of a lion, that'll be really good. Okay, so let's go back to the modeling tab again, and let's line up the references a little better. In order to see where everything goes, I need to make a little bit of actually, let me go ahead and remove this cube for now. Bring in an empty, go Shift A, plane axis, and that's an empty object, and then you can use this reference to line up the reference image. So all I need to do is just put a few highlights of the image. So for example, the top of the ear lines up perfectly in the front and side. From the top view, no, it doesn't line up well in the top view. So I think it's a matter of scaling. Okay, now it lines up in the top view, may move it back a little. And then on the back view, Control 1, I don't really care much. So I think now the ears line up on the front, side, and top view, sorry, the top view, just by using this empty. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and duplicate this, Shift D, and maybe put one on the nose. So that's from the front view. Let's move it on the Y-axis over here. Okay, it doesn't line up to the nose that well. So I need to scale this to make sure that it does. So I think I need to move it down a little, scale it up, move it down, scale it up, move it down, and yeah, just keep fidgeting with the reference images until the references line up perfectly. Some reference images that you get online, especially if they're 3D modeling sheets, they tend to fit well just out of the box. You don't have to do any of this adjusting. The images are set up in a way that that's done really well. Finally, I'll go ahead and add another empty for the bottom of the legs. So make sure that the legs line on the bottom, so, like so. From the front view, it doesn't really line up that well. It may just be a perspective issue. So in this case, I'm not going to worry too much. I think it's just a perspective. It's not orthographic. I think it's just a perspective. Perspective it means that the leg may appear to be smaller when it really isn't. It just means it's further away from the camera's lens, so it appears smaller, but it isn't. So from the top view, so for the most part, I think that proportion looks good to go. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So now we can go ahead and remove these little empties. We just simply use them to get an idea of proportion. Okay, so I think we're good to go now. So one thing I need to do before I go ahead and start modeling is I just want to enable a bit of transparency through each of these reference images. So let's just quickly go to the image settings over here in the properties window. I think it's called object data properties. That's the one. And also go ahead and tick use alpha and just turn down the transparency down a little bit, and do pretty much the same thing for each of these ones. So use alpha, turn it down, top view, let's do the same thing, use alpha, turn it down, and Control 1 on the side view, use alpha and turn it down. Okay, so I think that's a good start. Okay, so as for the reference, I think we're now complete. It's now time to start adding in the lion. So I'm going to go ahead and place the 3D cursor right on the center over there, the line. And from the front view, I think that's okay. It's right on the center. I might go Shift S cursor to world origin, and then just simply move it, move the 3D cursor down, like over here, so that it fits right on the center of the world. So now we can actually start to do the actual 3D modeling of the lion. Before we start modeling, let's just look at briefly how we're going to approach this. You can take many different approaches. You can do the poly by poly modeling method, or you can do the box modeling method. I'm going to do a bit of a modern workflow for this one. So I'm going to do more of a box modeling workflow. but then go into sculpting and then use dynamic topology to sculpt out the lion. So we're going to be using some of the features that are included in Blender 2.81 for this to help us achieve that, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, so first thing we're going to start off with is the first phase of our modeling, which is the blocking. So this part we're just only going to aim to get the overall shape and form of the line, and we can do this in many different ways. We don't even have to be perfect about it. Okay, so for the let's start off by blocking out the main forms. The main forms are this body, it's the legs, it is the head. We can also block in ears if we want. Okay, so for the body, I'll just go ahead and go Shift A, Mesh, and I'm just going to go ahead and use a cube. Straight away, I'm going to tab into Edit mode, and then go G, Z, and move it up, and then make it fit the contour of the lion. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the front view and hit Control R to add a loop cut over here. So click over here and then click again. So the loop cut right in the middle. Then I want to go ahead and select this half of the cube and select those vertices over there. Hit X, delete vertices so that we are left with half a cube. And then I want to go to the modifiers, add modifier, and I want to choose a mirror modifier. We'll also turn on clipping. So the main reason why I added a mirror modifier is that we can save half the time in modeling and just do one side of the line and have it repeated on the other side, because our line is mostly symmetrical in shape. Another modifier I'm going to make use of is the subdivision surface modifier. Subdivision surface modifiers tend to lend well for organic type of models. In this case, a line is organic, so we can make use of that in our work. Let's maybe turn up the viewport to 2, and I think that's a good basis to start modeling from. Okay, so all we need to do now is try to make the shape of our blocking similar to the shape of the line. So in this case, I'm just going to go in and just shape out the overall shape of the line. So let me scale this down, make this go all the way to the back. Select this one. Might extrude this one by hitting E, like so, and then scaling down on the Z axis, moving it maybe up over here, scaling down, and hit E once more, scaling it down like so, and hit E once more, scale it down a little bit more, and then hit E once more, scale it down over here, and I think we have a very basic shape. Okay, in this part maybe I might go ahead and select these two verts, move it down. So all I'm trying to do is I'm trying my best to match the reference. So in this case there's not enough data, so I'll go ahead and hit Control R and add a loop over here, and then maybe it's SZ and then move it down. Try and match the reference a little bit more. Move this one down as well. Control R, we'll add another one over here. Oops. Move this one down. Okay, so just blocking out as so. Just to make the modeling a little bit more easier, because I can't really select some of these verts, go ahead and turn this little 3 triangle icon over here. This 3 circle triangle, this little icon over here, the on cage, so that you can see things a little bit clearer. Okay, so in this case I might pull this one out. Pull this one out. Pull this one out. Pull this one up. And with these ones, we'll just pull this one down. Okay, also I may as well Just to see things clearer, I may as well go to the wireframe mode as well. Yeah, I might go ahead and add another loop cut over here. Move it up. And yeah, just try to fit the shape of the lion. Okay, remember it doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. We're just blocking it out. Okay, so that's the body now done. Next, let's look at the legs. And for the legs, I'm just going to go ahead and create it as a separate object. So for the legs, all I want to do is yet again just block out by creating a cube. So I actually might just do this in the edit mode. Let's go ahead and go Shift A, cube, and then you get another circular type of shape, which is fine for now. So all I'm just going to do is hit hit Control I to invert the selection, and then hit H to hide the mesh for now. We'll now work with just the one leg. So we'll start and view over here. And then I might quickly go and select this entire face. Just the bottom face over there. So we'll select everything and then move them out. Let's turn off clipping. Now obviously as you can see that I've added the cube right in the center and it's getting stuck. That's mostly because of the clipping. So just turn off clipping, move it out of the way, and then now turn on clipping again, and now it won't be stuck unless you go ahead and stick it together. So let's just make it thin to fit the reference of the leg, and then simply we'll just shape them out. Also go ahead and select these bottom face over here, and then we'll just keep extruding out to match the reference of the leg. Scale this one down, scale this one down, scale once more, like so. Select this loop, move it out of the way. Now we'll go ahead and select this face and extrude out. Oops, scale up. Once more, and let's scale out on the X axis. So this one, scale out on the X. Let's move it. Let's move it up, and this one down. Oops. This one down. So for the legs, I think that's very basic, but that should be enough. So now it's a matter of going in and maybe tweaking it to match the reference. So let that match the reference there, let this one match the reference over here. Over here. We may as well go ahead and add in a loop cut over here for the joint. Scale this one in. Add another loop cut over here. Scale this one out. Move this one down. Scale this one out. Move this one out. So we have tried to create strong looking legs. Back, might move it out a little. Okay, so I think that's okay. And also we'll do the back legs as well. So select everything, hit Shift D, move it along the Y-axis now. And now we just readjust the verts to match the reference. So let's move this one down. Overall, I think the leg shape is okay now. Okay, so that's blocked out. Let's go ahead and hit Alt H to bring back the entire body. And we have something that looks like that. Cool. So maybe one final thing we need to add are the ears. So for the ears, maybe just a simple cube will work well for this case. Oh, sorry, and the tail as well. So for the tail, I think I'm just simply gonna, yeah, just go ahead and click over here. We'll just go ahead and add in a cube yet again. Oh, it'll be controlled by the mirror modifier. Scale it down, let's move it in place, and regarding how big the tail should be, let's go ahead and hit Alt I. Sorry, hit Control I to deselect everything, hide it, and we'll just use this to start to define where the tail comes from. So Control 1, we'll make the tail a little wider. And just rotate it around like so. And select these, let's make this a bit more rounded as well. So now let's go ahead and select these ones. And, oops, let's just scale it down. Okay, and then let's just keep extruding it out. Extrude out. Extrude out. And make it follow the curvature of the line. So we have something that looks like that. Very basic, very simple. Just some quick blocking. As you can see, the shape of the overall line is very, very simple. Just a cube, and then I just added a bunch of loop cuts just to, you know, match the reference. So I think over here actually, I should add in one more loop. It's always good to capture these little details here and there. So we want to add in that little bump over here. So if you can catch out these little details like that and get the overall shape of the line looking realistic, that would be good. Some parts maybe I can exaggerate it as well. This over here, oops. I can move this one back. From the top view as well, we need to make sure that everything looks good. Maybe I can make it a little fatter, but also a little slimmer over here. Make it a little thicker over here would be good. And here maybe move it in. And the joint between where his head will be, you could add in a loop over here. And make it match the reference a little bit more. Okay, so we have a bit more of that line shape coming in now. But having said that, I still don't like the shape that's going on over here. I guess for this one I'll just create a cube. scale it down on the y-axis. Let's bring it out, turn off clipping, let's bring it out, scale it down, let's turn off clipping again, and I'll just rotate it around like so. Literally I'm just making stuff up as I go. There's nothing here is really set in stone. So let's go back into this view again. Alright, maybe let's go S. Actually, what I'll do is, okay, now that I've got that reference, I'm just going to position where I want to have the ears coming out from. So maybe over here. We'll go ahead and add in a cube, turn off clipping, scale it down, turn on clipping again. Okay, so now I'll rotate it like so. And we'll select the ears, Control L, then Control I to invert the selection, press H to hide, and select these top face, then move it over here, select this one, move it in place, move this one in place. Then go ahead and select this one, hit E to extrude, and then E to extrude once more, and move it in place. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, a little weird, but anyways, it doesn't look like a line anymore. It looks like some kind of alien creature with headlights. But okay, anyways, let's go ahead and keep tweaking that. So I need to go back into wireframe mode again. Let's go ahead and move this one out like so. What I might also do is I'll rotate this. Oops, turn off clipping for a second. Rotate this, scale it down a little. So we have something that looks like that. And then select all of this. Let's move it in place like so. Select this, move it in place. Select this. Move this like so. Move this like so. And yeah, just keep fidgeting around with this until it looks somewhat believable. Okay, so let's turn this on and see what that looks like. I think that's good enough. Maybe not. Oh, sorry, the front needs a little tweaking. So let's just try our best to make this one match the reference. Let's open up the ears a lot more. Okay, so for that pass, I think that should be okay. Let's move it in, down. Something like that. So I just add another loop. Let's move this in place. From the side view, let's move this out. I think that's okay. Does that look believable? Yeah, it looks somewhat like ears, I guess, from the front view at least. Yeah, good enough. I mean, we can always just tweak this and move this. No, I don't like that. We'll keep like that. Or we'll just bring these ones a little further up. Now, of course, I can keep tweaking on and on forever, but I'm actually going to probably leave it there and call that good enough. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit Alt H, and at this stage I'm going to go ahead and say that our lion has been fully blocked out. So that's pretty much all we need to do for this pass. So let's go ahead and save this. So now let's move on to the second pass, which is sculpting. Now we're ready to sculpt. So go to the modifiers tab and go ahead and apply all the modifiers. Alternatively, hit F3 and type in convert to, and then go mesh from curve, and that'll go ahead and apply all the modifiers automatically. Next, we're going to go and use the Voxel Romesha tool. We're going to use the size of 0.02 to begin with. The Voxel Romesha tool is basically like a retopologizing tool. So the mesh that's generated is all quads, and it is a watertight mesh. That means there are no loose parts. Everything is just one mesh. So this is very, very handy when it comes to sculpting. It creates a very detailed mesh for us. And it's only available in Blender 2.81 and above. So I highly recommend using the Voxel Romesha tool for that case. After this, I'm just moving the images out of the way so that I can see the references a little bit better. And then now I start to sculpt out the details. So I'm sort of going to do this in time-lapse mode because a lot of this stuff is repetitive. But basically what I'm doing is I'm just using a combination of the clay strips brush, the crease brush, the smooth brush, and even the grab brush to pretty much highlight all the major parts of the anatomy of the lion. And I am using the reference image a lot for this. For the toes, I'm using the crease brush and I'm just really just drawing it in. Then I use a smooth brush just to make everything look nice. I do the same thing to the back legs as well. For the neck, it was looking a little too boxy, so I just rounded that out. Also on the bottom part of the cheeks as well, I just used a blob brush to round things out and make the cheeks look a little bit bigger. For the nose, I used a crease brush and just drew in a V shape. And then I just used a grab brush just to shape it even more. And then I used a crease brush to pretty much draw in a lion mouth. I went to the side view and also drew in the, well, pretty much just added in a crease for the lion's mouth. Around the ears, I just used a smooth brush, rounded out the ears a little bit more. It was looking a little bit more like a dog's ears rather than a cat's ears in my opinion. I also added a bit more creasing near the leg area. Now it was time to add in the eyes. So I just used a separate mesh for this. This is not connected to the main mesh. They're just like a placeholder so that when I go back to the sculpt mode, I can pretty much sculpt out the eyelids. And I know exactly how to place the eyes on top of the eyeball. I spent quite a bit of time on this one. I tend to find eyes to be the most challenging part when it comes to sculpting. They're not really that straightforward and easy in my opinion. I also added a crease right down the middle of the lion's head. I tend to find that a lion right on the top of the head has a crease like that. I did a bit more shaping to the eyes, so obviously you can tell that I was struggling quite a bit with the eyes. Just a tip with the eyes, especially for a lion's eyes or any kind of feline eyes, on the outer corner of the eyes, crease it upwards, and for the inner corner of the eyes, crease it downwards. So you get that sort of that kind of a lion, feline type of eye shape. So now that we have the overall shape of the lion, I think now it's a good time to pretty much stop over here and start to do the actual texturing and fur of the lion. So this part is probably going to be the most interesting part of the entire tutorial, adding the actual fur. So the first thing we need to do before we add the fur is we need to remesh this. So you can sort of think of it like retopologizing it, but we're just going to do it really, really quickly. I want to sort of have a shortcut to doing it. So I'm just going to quickly go over here and go remesh, and then I might try hitting remesh and see what that looks like. No, we're losing a little bit of details in the eyes, so I might just bump this one down to 0.03. See if we get a bit more details that way. Remesh. Still not enough. 0.02. I think that's better. Okay. Cool. So once we've done that, we can just go in and fix up this area a little. So we have our final line, which looks like that. Okay, so now let's go move along and start to actually do the texturing. So for the texturing, what I'm going to do is I'm not really going to mess around too much with scenes and things like that. I'm just going to go ahead and go to the UV editing workspace, select all the vertices by hitting A, then go U, and then let's go Smart UV Project and hit OK. Alright, so we have a UV project over here. I don't really care too much about these islands and making them look optimal because I'm just going to use simple colors for the entire body. Okay, so as for that, I think that's looking good. So we're now ready to start doing some texture painting. So let's now move to the texture painting workspace, and we need to also give it a material. So let's go ahead and create a new material. We'll call this one lion fur. Oh, actually we'll start with lion skin. And for the lion skin, it's just going to be a very basic one. Okay, for the lion skin, I'm just going to make it a black color. So I'll explain why a little bit later, but for now I'll just make it a black color. So let's go ahead and hit new, and I'm just going to keep that black color over here, and 124 by 124 is okay. Sorry, 1024 by 2024 is okay. Hit OK, and we'll save this image. Okay, so now that we have that, under the lion skin, let's go back to the shading tab. Go ahead and hit Shift A, texture, image texture, and let's just load up that lion skin texture. So this is in the other skin. This is in the other window for me. So now that you have lion skin, go ahead and connect the color to the base color, and we have the basic lion skin. But I don't want to do lion skin for now. So that's just going to be what's the underlying skin of the lion, but that's not really my main focus. My main focus is the lion fur. So let's go to the texture, let's go to the material tab again, hit a new material. We'll call this one lion fur. And for now, I'm just going to assign all the vertices to lion fur. So select all vertices and hit assign. Let's go back to texture paint, and with lion fur selected, I'm going to go back to this tab over here, the active tool settings, and I'm going to go to I'm going to create a new texture. I'm going to call it the base color. 1024 by 1024 is okay. If you want to double it, you may have better resolution. And the base color that I want to start off with is going to be a basic lion's color, so a bit of an orangish yellow. Yeah, something around there would be a good start, but maybe not as saturated. Maybe something even higher than that. Something around there might be a good start. Okay, so use this hue saturation value if you want to copy my settings, and then hit OK. Okay, so now we have the line with the basic diffuse color. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start to paint in. So let's change this one here to the line for base color. Next thing I want to do is I want to start to paint in the overall color of a lion. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm probably going to add in a color palette. Let's hit plus over here. This one is going to be an I'm going to create an orange color over here, something around there, maybe less saturated. Something like that. We hit plus. Maybe a more browner color, like that, and hit plus, and probably perhaps a more yellow color, hit plus. Okay, so let's start off with the orange. This doesn't look that orange enough for me, so maybe I might go a little down, maybe a little darker, something like that, and hit plus. We'll start off with this orange. So for this orange, I'm simply just going to paint the line orange in this area. So just to fix up these little weird lines or artifacts, let's go ahead and hit soften. If that doesn't work, then just go smear. Okay. So one last thing I might do is I'll just go ahead and add in one more color. So let's go back to the brush. I'll pick a completely black one, add that to the palette, and I'm just going to go ahead and just very lightly paint in these areas over here. Actually, it's too thick. Make it smaller. Oops, too big. Okay, and also paint this area here. Okay, cool, and also I'll paint this little ring around the eyes. Okay, so I have something that looks like that. Cool, so let's now go ahead and save this. So it looks somewhat like a lion or a dog, but nevertheless, I'm just going to go ahead and save that. I think I want to smudge out these bits over here some more. So for the most part, I think I'll call that good. So to save this texture, make sure you go to image and then hit save. Or let's go to save as, and we'll save it as an actual image. Okay, so as far as texture painting goes, I think I'm done with that. So now let's move on to the actual fur. Alright, so now moving back to my main screen, I'm going to now start working on the actual fur itself. We're going to be adding a few particle systems in order to create the fur. One particle system for the entire body, one for the face, and one for the whiskers. Also one more for the actual mane of the lion. Okay, so let's get straight to it. First off, let's start off with the body. So I'm going to first of all define a weight paint for the body. So let's go to the object data properties of the lion. Let's create a new vertex group and we'll call this one the body. And then we'll tab into edit mode, and then I'll also turn on this see transparent. I think that sees through it, yep. And then I'm just going to use the circle select tool by hitting C on my keyboard, and then just click and paint, click and drag all the way through. And then we'll just stop it around about there. So it doesn't really matter where you stop it, because we're going to have a line main that'll be pretty much coming on top of this one. So around about there is good enough. So we'll go ahead and assign that vertex to the lion. So that now if I go ahead and select those ones, it's automatically there. And if I look at it in weight paint mode, we can see, if I turn this off, we can see the influence taking effect there. So let's go ahead and add another one. This one is for the head. And for the head, let's go back to the edit mode. And we're also going to do the same thing. Just select that, we have to turn on show transparent and do the same thing over here. Select it around about there, and we'll assign that. But actually we don't want to assign exactly everything. So we need to decide exactly what we don't want. So let's turn off this one, and I'm going to hit slash on my numpad so that the eyeballs don't get in the way. And I'm also going to perhaps select these two verts over here, hit Control plus plus, and maybe we'll stop it there. We don't want any particles growing out of this one, so let's go ahead and remove from the head as well. Come to the nose, we don't want any fur coming out of the nose as well, so we need to remove it from the nose as well. So let's go ahead and select everything where, select our entire nose where we don't want the fur to grow. And now I'll just go like that. Same over here. That should be good. Maybe it's a bit here as well. Actually not this one. Don't want any of this. So let's go ahead and remove. And remove. Okay, just take out a few more over here. Okay, so over here, I might go ahead and select all of these ones. Just remove all of them. Oops. C and then click and drag all the way. C, click and drag all the way, and to get out of the circle select mode, just right click. Okay, let's remove. Alright, so let's have a look at what that looks like in weight paint mode. Yeah, cool. So we have that set up nicely now. So the hair should not, the fur should not grow in these areas, because that would be a little bit weird. Okay, so other than that, I think we're good to go. Oh, we also need to one more vertex group. The main, the lion main. And we're just going to edit mode for this one, turn on show transparent, and we just select this entire area over here. And the lion's mane also grows in bits of these areas as well. Let's turn this off now and make it grow all over here as well. And let's go ahead and hit assign, and that's what it looks like. Great, so now let's start to add in the lion fur. So we finally get to the interesting part. So let's hit save, and we're going to go straight now and add it. Maybe let's go to the layout tab, and let's expand this out, and let's increase this. Let's go to the side view. Okay, so let's go to the this one, the particle properties. Let's hit plus. Let's change this to hair. And I guess I'll start off with the body. So we'll put it on the body as well. Let's turn on advanced. And what I want to do is I might make this one maybe 10,000. Or maybe we'll start off with maybe 7,000 to begin with. The rest is okay. Maybe make the hair length a lot less, 0.1. Maybe even less than that, 0.01. I think that's a good start. Oh, by the way, type into edit mode really quickly, select everything, so hit A, go to the materials and go back to line skin and hit assign. So we want the actual line skin to be black, but the line fur to be a different color. So let's go back to the particle properties, and to change the material of the fur itself, we just go to render, material is lion fur. Okay, so we should now start to see the materials coming in. But before I go ahead and do that, I need to choose, the hair is growing out of the head, so I need to stop that. So go to, I believe it is vertex groups, density is the body. Okay, and 0.1, I'm not sure if that's long enough, 0.03. Yeah, maybe we'll start off with that for now. Okay, and then what we'll do as well is we'll go to children and turn on interpolated. And what this is where the magic of the fur starts to come into effect. So a lot of this is controlled by children. So right now it looks like, it doesn't look like a proper fur, it looks like hair just sticking out. That's not really the correct look. So we need to do a little bit of changing, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. I'll go and comb it. So I guess right now I don't need any of these references, so I'm just going to go and remove them by hitting H. What's this? Hit H. Okay. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead and comb the fur. So change from object mode, or select the line first. Change from object mode to particle edit. And we're going to just turn on the comb and just comb the lion pretty much along the direction like so. So this is from the top view, Okay, so we have something that looks like that. So let's go ahead and hit save. And I might have a look at what that looks like while rendered. We can't really see anything without proper lighting. I generally go to HDRI Skies, HDRI Haven, and I would download one of these skylights to use in my renders. And then I simply just go over to the world settings and then change the color to environment texture. I just load up a HDRI. And also, I'm not going to really use the Eevee rendering engine for this one. I want to use Cycles, because I am going for more of a realistic look. Okay, so with the fur, straight away I can tell that the fur strands are way too thick. It's way too thick. So to fix that, let's go back to the particle settings and down in the hair shape, change that from 1 to maybe 0.1. That should be a lot better. Okay, that is looking, maybe half that. Oh no, yeah, I think that should be okay. Also, what we want to do is we want to go and change the shader of the actual fur itself. So go to lion fur. We're not going to use a principled BSDF for this one. So remove principled BSDF. We're going to use a principled hair. So go shader, principled hair BSDF, and plug in the color to the color and the BSDF to the surface. Okay, so the default should generally be okay. So let's go back to layout, and we should have a more realistic looking hair, but we can't really tell yet. So I may have to bump up the number of children, let's say to 30. The final render will have 100, by the way. So we can't really tell yet. We have to bump it up to 60. So we're starting to be able to see some fur, but still it's looking way too light, so I may have to go just to change the radius root to 0.1. You may have to tweak with your own settings as well. It really depends on the scale of your lion. Yeah, I think this one is a good size. 0.1, at least for me, it's a good size. So we're now starting to see that fur come through. And I think what I need to do is also I need to play around with the children. The fur is looking way too neat. So let's just break it up a little bit by adding a bit of roughness. Say 0.01. I have to look at this from the non-rendered perspective, by the way. So if it's 0, looks like that, 0.01. So I'm really just playing around with these settings to see what I can get. Trying to get a relatively scraggy looking lion, but not too scraggly. So by increasing the shape, make it smoother and smoother. Yeah, something like that might be good. So let's have a look at what that looks like when rendered. May have to increase the radius root to maybe 0.2. Yeah, I think that's starting to take a bit more shape now. So I'm just going to have a quick render just to see what this looks like. So I'm going to hit save. And let's just have a look at what it looks like. So let's go back into normal view. Let's add in a quick camera. So control numpad 0 to get in the camera. I just want to have a look at what this looks like with all 100 particles. I may have to bump up these children particles to maybe like 130. Oh, also another thing that might help is if I move down the length to something like that and increase the threshold. Might help to add a little bit more realism. And a little bit of clumping may also help as well, just a tad. Breaks up the uniformity. Alright, so let's have a look at what that looks like when rendered. Although it is messing up in places. Okay, so this is what our lion fur looks like. It's a good start, but I think maybe the fur is a little too thick, so I may have to reduce the size of it, but overall it's actually not too bad. I may have to think about changing the body color a little bit to match, but I think overall it's not too bad. We can see our textures coming through, which is quite nice, but I'll probably spend a little bit of time later tweaking this one. Let's now move on to the face, and also later on to the mane as well. So for the face, I'm going to do the same thing. So go to the particle edit mode. Let's go ahead and hit plus, and I'll call this one, actually for this one I'm going to go ahead and use the body as well, but I'm going to duplicate this one and call it the face, and this will be the face. The main reason I did that is because we can duplicate the same settings as we had before, so it just saves a bit of time. So the only change I make really is to change the density from body to head. So now all of it is in the head area, and I also need to fix up the number of particles. We don't need as much, 3000 maybe, okay. And also it doesn't need to be as the fur doesn't need to be as long, 0.02 maybe. Okay, so I think that's looking good. So it's good that the fur isn't growing in the nose or the mouth area. That's exactly what we want, or the eye area as well. That's exactly what we want. So now it's just a matter of combing it. We don't need to have as many particles as well, so we'll keep that. The noise and all these settings are applied as well, which is good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the particle edit mode, and we're just going to comb. The one thing about a lion's fur, from what I looked at references, is the bottom of the mouth, the fur is a little longer for a lion. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the length, and then just increase it. I can do it from here. Maybe turn up the strength. There we go. We'll just grow it out a little. Don't go too long though. And then we'll just comb it. Okay, so it's looking okay. The fur does look a little light. So I think it's just a matter of increasing the number of children. So we'll go back to the particle settings really quick. For the first particle settings, the body, I'll just turn this down to 0.15, and for the second one, I'll just bring it up to maybe 100. Alright, it's looking okay, but I still think that we're seeing a lot of this underlying skin rather than the actual fur taking over. So I may experiment with changing out the lion's body to the lion fur as well, so the lion skin to the lion fur as well. So maybe let's go back to the shading for a second. I'll just duplicate this one and change this one to the lion base color. And let's experiment with what that looks like. Okay, so it's now looking like a more furry animal, which is great. But it does look a lot like a toy rather than an actual lion. So I think the one way we can fix this is by toning down the base color, making it a lot more darker. So what I mean by that is in the base color over here, this one, and we'll mix it with black. if I go all the way here, it's more black, but maybe we might just multiply. So let's see what it looks like with that. Slowly we're getting there, but I actually might need to do a lot more tweaking. Anyways, finally I'll go ahead and just finish this off by adding a adding the line main. So Control B. So we'll go ahead and add one more particle system. By the way, I'll call this the face. I'll call this one the line main, and we'll copy off the face, but I'll duplicate it and call it main. And the vertex groups is going to be the line main. The length is going to be a lot higher, maybe 2 meters. No, way too much. 1 meter, half a meter, maybe. Actually, let's go 0.8 meters. That might be a good start. Okay. So we don't need 2,000, maybe 1,000, and then 500 may be okay for this case. We can make the length of some of these way shorter. And turn on long hair. Okay, yeah, so now we'll just go ahead and hit save and go into particle edit, and we just edit it so that we make it pretty much look like a lion's mane. So just pretty much go off references if you can find any. So I'm just pretty much copying this, so the line just comes around like that. So over here it comes around like that, but I don't think the lion's mane is that long over here. Oh, actually it can be. It can be. Alright, and there we have it. A really cool looking lion. I mean, it doesn't look amazing. It doesn't look like one of those lions that you see from Lion King. So I wouldn't call it realistic, but it definitely looks like one of those stylized looking lions. So final thing really left is the eyeballs. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is maybe tweak up the lion and also work on the eyes. So for the eyes, I'm not going to really spend too long on it because it will take really long to actually create the eyes for the lion. So I'm just going to reuse the eyes that I created from the cartoon character series that I have on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in creating cartoony eyes, go ahead and check out my cartoon character series on my YouTube channel. So I'm just going to go ahead and import this one into my actual scene. So eyeball.l, I went ahead and imported that into the scene. So I just went file, append. I searched for where my eyeball was from my file. I think it was under object, and then eyeball.l, and then append. Okay, so now I go into edit mode, and then I'll also make sure I put the cursor right in the center of where the line is. So now I can go and mirror it. Cool, and I can use this one to replace the placeholder eyes that I created earlier. We have something that looks like that. So of course that looks like human eyes. Lion eyes don't look like that at all. So we need to do some tweaks to this one. And then in the UV editing, we will scale the entire thing to fit inside this. Okay, so there. I think that looks good. Let's now do a final render and see what it looks like. So there we have it. That is our final lion. Alright, so that's it. That's pretty much how you create a lion in Blender and Cycles. So overall the fur looks good, but I'm not overly too happy with the face. It sort of looks like a crossbreed between a lion and a dog and a horse. So even the eyes look a little weird. So I need to spend a lot more time fixing that up, but it definitely looks like some kind of stylized lion character. Obviously that's where my weakness lies. I'm not specialized in doing animal work, but I think for 2 hours worth of work, I'm actually quite proud of myself for creating something like this. So if you managed to create something like this or even better than this, well done. That's a really, really good effort for 2 hours worth of work. So yeah, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please feel free to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.